What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our SEC football channel. We continue with our 2019 ESPN FPI breakdowns. The Florida Gators are up next. The FBI likes this team a pretty good bit. It's interesting when you look at the schedule, though. They actually have Florida's schedule ranked as one of the toughest schedules in the country. And let me just, before we get into that schedule, I'm going to show you just kind of the breakdown of this Florida team. According to the FBI, they have them ranked at number 8, so the 8th best team in the FBI rankings. They are projected to go 8-4, about 8-4, which is the 24th best record according to the FBI. So 8-4 would be their record, with roughly a 30% chance of winning the SEC East. So that's a decent chance there, 30%, when you look at Georgia as the heavy favorites in that division. They have a 0.2% chance of going undefeated, so not really much of a chance there. And then they have a 6.8% chance of winning the SEC, and that is really the first time we've seen a number this wasn't like 1 or 2. You know, they're up there close to 7%. So the Gators do have a chance according to the FBI, even though it's not much of a chance. And again, we talked about that schedule. Number 3, they have their schedule ranked as the 3rd toughest schedule in the country. It's pretty tough. So here it is. I don't think I had it rated that high, but I do have this as one of the tougher schedules. It really depends on how good you think Miami and Florida State are. And as you can see here, the FBI has Florida State ranked number 21, Miami ranked number 27. So they have those two teams ranked pretty high. But you look at this schedule, and they only have 2 games that they're underdogs in. That's LSU and Georgia. They're favored in the rest of these games. So you'd say, well, why is their projected record not 10-2? Well, you have to average out all these games. You have to look at Auburn, South Carolina, Missouri, these games where they're not big favorites. So the FBI thinks, that's going to catch up to them, and they're going to lose a couple of those games, and that's why they would finish 8-4. But they are favored pretty big against Miami, 73.4% chance to win that game. I do like Florida, but I think it's closer to a 65% chance if I had to put a number on it. UT Martin is at 99.5%. They're favored pretty big against Kentucky on the road, despite the fact that the Wildcats beat them last year. I tend to agree with that, though. I think Florida's going to be pretty solid this year, and I think they should be favored by a good bit in that game. But I don't agree with this Tennessee game at 69%. The game is at home for Florida, and we know the FBI really likes Tennessee. They have them ranked number 15. But I think playing at home, Florida should be pretty big favorites in that game. I think they have a much better chance of beating Tennessee at home than they do at going on the road and beating Kentucky. So that's one area where I would kind of switch those numbers around a little bit. Towson is 99.1%, so they should win that game. And then you got Auburn at 60.6%. The game is at home. I think that'll be a big advantage for Florida. I think those two teams are fairly even, but I do think Florida is the better team, and they're playing at home. So I'm a little surprised the FBI has that number at just 60%. I tend to agree with that. I'm just surprised that the FBI doesn't have that number higher. LSU, they're favoring the Tigers in that game, 29.7% chance of Florida winning, so not a huge percent there. And then South Carolina, you're at 57.7%. Not a big number there. That is close to a 50-50 game, and that could be a game that Florida could trip up on. It's on the road right before Georgia, so that'll be interesting. 36.8% chance of beating Florida. So beating Georgia, I should say. So what's interesting is you look at the schedule and you think Georgia's probably going to be their toughest game. Well, they actually have LSU as their toughest game. Georgia, they have them with a pretty good chance of winning that game. And then Vanderbilt's 88.5% should win that game. 56.6% chance on the road at Missouri. We know Missouri's had a lot of success against Florida in the last several years. So South Carolina and Missouri, those 2 road games are going to be key games for Florida. If they're able to win those 2 games, they're going to have a really good season, more than likely. And then a 74% chance of beating Florida State. So they have them basically the same percentage against Miami and Florida State. They think they'll beat both of their in-state rivals, and they think that should win fairly comfortably. So that's it for our Florida FBI breakdown. You guys can let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more here on our SEC football channel.